Hi everyone, welcome to the Preform 3.43.0 feature rundown. Today we're going to be talking about CAD file imports, importing files as part of folders, and finally model grouping. Let's jump right into it. CAD file imports has been something that you guys have been asking for a while. With this next Preform release, we're really excited to announce that we're going to start testing out some seven new additional CAD file import types. So this will include everything from SolidWorks, step files, CATIA files, and some more. So what you can do is you can go into File here, go into Open, and when you do the type selection dropdown, you'll see that there's 7 new options here, all with beta in front. As I mentioned, we're still testing these, so we would love your feedback, and we'll be moving them as we go through the upcoming releases and improving them based on the feedback you provide us. So give us feedback, as always, using the bottom right-hand button here. It's a great way for us to get your feedback directly and start putting it into our process. What we saw when we looked at many of your workflows is that users like to use the folder structure on their computer to manage their 3D files. So whether it's orders, cases, or print requests, you guys are often putting all of your STL files, your OBJs, in one single folder just to manage them while you transfer them from an upstream software through to Preform. So what we did was we created a new feature under the File menu called Import Folder. And what it makes it possible to do is just select a folder rather than selecting all the contents and pressing Open. As you'll see here, all the contents of the folder opened. On the SLS side, you'll have model grouping, so it'll show in a group. On the SLA side, it will just show as the list of different models that were in that folder. This should be really helpful to both ease your workflow, make your workflow a little bit faster, but also to make sure you're not missing any folders, any files within that folder. Last but not least, let's talk about model grouping. So in this release, model grouping is only going to be for SLS, but eventually we'll move it out to SLA as well. Model grouping makes it so you can organize your models much easier. This is particularly important for those times where you have tens or even hundreds of models in your model list, and it's really hard to manage your different models and understand where they are without scrolling significantly and trying to find the ones you're looking for. As we talked about in the last section, when you import your folder, they will immediately go into a group if you have SLS. If you have SLA, it'll show in a flat list, so it'll just show your different models that were in that folder. But on the SLS side, you'll see that it went right into a gears folder. It shows how many different models are within that folder. So there's 2 models in here. So that will always be there with a count. And it just allows you to manage them. So if you select it, it'll select both of them that are in the scene. So the model grouping, though, doesn't just work for that folder import. It also works for general use cases within Preform. So let's bring in a few extra models. Let's do this. Let's go up one. We'll do the buckles and the impeller. So let's say I want to print six sets of buckles, and let's do that. So now we have, I believe, 6 sets of buckles. Yep. Let's right click, select them all, right click, group models, and you'll see it is called group 2. So let's call it buckles. And so you'll see buckles has 12 in it, and there's 12 different models in here. So you have 6 different buckles, 12 buckle parts, and 6 different sets of buckles. So the one thing about this one, though, is buckles, you really want them to maintain this orientation for this use case. So the customers asked for that, so let's lock them all. So what you can do is you can go to the parent, the folder top, and you can go right into the lock XY rotation, and you'll see that all of the children, the buckles within the folder, do inherit the value that you set there for the locking. And the same here for show and hide. It's a nice little feature, but let's say you do want 1 or 2 of them to be a different locking mechanism. So let's say maybe for the female buckle here, 1 set of buckles, let's say, I want to unlock them just to see how they function when on the other side, and then I can check between the 2. So you'll see that I can do back and forth. I can always go back, though, and at the parent level, turn it into XY, and those 2 will turn back to XY. And then you can always expand or collapse it. If you collapse it, you'll see it's very easy to see that you have 12 different buckle models. So you have 6 different buckles in this case. You have 2 gears and you have an impeller without even having to scroll or look at anything in too much detail. This should be a really helpful feature. Hopefully it helps you with your organization. As always, give us some feedback in the bottom right here. We really look at that feedback and use it as part of our process to create the roadmap going forward. Thank you guys.